Hi, friends. Tony DeWitt here, Missouri appellate attorney and a guy who likes to make the law make sense on YouTube. Here's what we're discussing today. Now, I know I have said it on this channel before, but there are right ways and wrong ways to handle traffic stops. Even if you think the police have it all wrong, even if you think they just completely screwed this whole thing up, the place to talk about it isn't the side of the road. It is in the courtroom, and usually you let a lawyer handle that. And that is what makes the most sense because that way you get all of the emotion out of it. Because a lot of times what drives a bad result on a traffic stop is somebody getting their knickers in a twist, and because they get upset, they say and do things that make them look like a complete horses behind. And as a result of that, it now almost never goes well for them in court when they have been unkind at the traffic stop. I have a short little bit of video to show you here. It's from the channel Police Watch, and it's I think it's designated as a entitled CEO. I think that's part of what the video title is. Came across this last night, and it reminded me of a case that I worked on. So I want to just have a little bit of this to sort of give you the flavor of what's going on here. So let's take a look at that now.
Behind the sheriff's office, can I get your license, registration, and insurance, please? Put the drink down. I need your license. Put the drink.
Ma'am.
Excuse you. I need your license, your registration, and insurance.
But don't be a bully. You're a bully. And I don't like woman bullies. Period.
Okay, let's face it. It isn't that he doesn't like women bullies. It's that he doesn't like women. Period. The guy's pulled over, and instead of being civil and finding out what the nice police officer wants, he goes into conflict mode, and this is not going to end well for you. I won't spoil the end of this for you, other than to say that the only disappointment in this video is that he did not get tased. But this is a video you should watch. It's quite a bit of, I will link it in the description down below because I do think it's absolutely worth your time. I just wanted to show that little bit of it to sort of give you a flavor for exactly what happens when you act the fool at the side of the road. In the city of Jefferson and in Cole County, there in Missouri, there was a system to be dealt with regard to tickets. The best outcome for a client was always if they got a ticket for a moving violation, speeding, unsafe lane change, anything like that. The best outcome was always to go to the prosecutor and see if you could work out a deal. And normally the deal worked out like this. If the normal fine for, doing 50 miles an hour in a 40 mile an hour zone was a $100 fine and $50 in court costs, then the client would agree to pay a $150 fine and $50 in court costs, total of $200, and the prosecutor would amend the ticket down to an equipment violation, defective equipment, or excessive vehicle noise, something like that was not a moving violation, but which the court could, in its discretion, impose the fine that everybody had agreed to. In this way, it stayed off of a person's insurance, and they didn't get gouged by their insurance company the next time the insurance company happened to go check their driving record. That is a good thing, and it basically served the purpose of the fine, making people feel the pain of having exceeded the speed limit, but at the same time not gouging them and giving the insurance company an extra $400 or $500 of pure profit the next time they filed a premium increase. That was a good system, and it depended on a couple of things. First of all, you had to behave at the traffic stop. If you were a giant jerk at the traffic stop, you are unlikely to get a good deal, and you may not even get a deal. Well, the person who got this ticket was a little bit of a firebrand, and she was prone to having a little bit of a foul mouth. And her explanation of what happened is the officer was rude. And I can tell you that certainly in Jeff City, there are some cops there who are rude. Several years ago, my wife got a ticket, and she was essentially ticketed for passing on the right, which didn't really happen. But she was really upset. It made her cry. And he told her when he handed her the ticket, he said, "You better take care of this within the next 10 days or there'll be a warrant issued for your arrest." There was no need to do that. He could have simply given her the ticket and said, you know, usually you have to deal with these in the appropriate time before the court date. You have to show up or you have to handle a ticket. And if you don't, sometimes they'll issue a warrant for you. So you want to make sure you take care of that. But the cop was kind of over the top. I don't know whether he didn't believe my wife's explanation or what, but he was being a jerk. So it is possible that the police officer in this other lady's case was a jerk. It happens. If I had to go around picking up society's trash all day long, as police officers do, I might have a bit of an attitude myself. So I'm willing to give a little on both sides of that story. But in responding to the police officer, apparently she went above and beyond what is considered to be being a little upset at the side of the road and gave him more than he chose to listen to. So this right here is the symbol that appeared at the top of her ticket. I looked at that ticket and I could see that that was on there, and I thought, well, that's rather odd. I wonder what that means. We sent the letter that we normally send to the prosecutor's office asking him to, if he could perhaps amend this down to defective equipment or excessive vehicle noise, make it a non-moving violation. And I got a call from the prosecutor's office, from the prosecutor himself, because this was a city prosecutor. It's an appointed position. It's just basically a local lawyer who agrees to serve as the prosecutor. And the city prosecutor called me and he said, "I can't amend this ticket." He said, "It will really annoy my police officers if I do that." I said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, you see that letter with the circle around it, the big A?" And I said, "Yeah, I see that." He said, "Well, that stands for a certain part of a person's anatomy. And the last part of that word ends in whole." And I said, "Oh, okay. So you're saying she wasn't very nice at the traffic stop?" And he said, "Apparently she was really over the top." He said, I can't amend this ticket for you. Can't do it. Sorry. She's welcome to come in and have her day in court if she wants to. But, if you want to come in with her, we'll deal with it at the time. But I'm telling you that I can't amend it." And I said, "Okay, well, I'll talk to her." So I went and talked to her, and I said, "Apparently you were a little over the top at the traffic stop." She said, "Yeah, I was." So I've thought about it. I said, "Maybe I should apologize to the police officer." I said, "Well, I don't think that's going to fly right now." I said, "Basically, you have two choices." I said, "You can pay the fine and everything will be cool, but it'll go on your license. Or you can show up and you can contest the ticket in court." I said, "But if you contest the ticket in court in the same way that you contested the ticket at the side of the road, we're going to have problems." She said, "No, I won't do that. I will go in and I will appear and I will apologize to the officer, and we'll take it at that." I said, "Okay, that's fine." So we went to court. And the officer, a lot of times the way they set up the municipal court dates is an officer will have like every other Tuesday or every other Thursday that he has to appear in court from about 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock at night to show up in uniform, testify on any of his tickets that he's issued that haven't been paid. And the gentleman showed up, and ordinarily I would never allow my client to go talk to the police officer before the trial under the fear that she might admit something that would hurt her. But at this point, there wasn't much she could do. So without me saying a word to her, she got up, she walked over to where the police officer was waiting to start the trial and said, I wanted to come over. She said, I know I'm going to wind up with a fine on this, and I'm okay with that. I understand you think I was speeding, and I get that. I just wanted to tell you that I'm sorry for the way I acted, and I shouldn't have done that. You deserved better from that, from me for that, and I'm sorry. So she went over and she came back and she sat down and she said, I apologize to him. I said, well, good for you. I said, that was the right thing to do. So court started about 15 minutes later than that. It never started on time when I was there. It was always 10 or 15 minutes late. And the prosecutor called up everybody but us. And then at the end of all of that, while we're sitting here wondering why in the world he isn't calling her ticket, the prosecutor called me over and said, we appreciate the fact that she's apologized. How about defective equipment? $150 fine. And we'll waive court costs. I said, that'd be fine. So she paid the fine. It didn't go on her driver's record, and she learned a valuable lesson about what to do when a police officer stops you and where the proper place to contest a traffic ticket is. I wish that more people would learn that. I think it would make not only their life better, it would certainly improve the quality of life for police officers out there generally. Now, I have to tell the story of my own encounter with the local constabulary here in Alabama, and that is there is a road in Lynette, Alabama that's Highway 50, and they call it Highway 50-50 because when you drive on that road, you have a 50-50 chance of getting where you're going. They have a lot of accidents on it. At any rate, I was driving down the road, and I looked in my rearview mirror, and there was the blue light going around, and I pulled over. And the police, at the time, I had Missouri plates on my car because I still lived in Missouri at that time. I was down visiting family. And the police officer walked up and he said, I forget exactly what it was, but it was, license, registration, shoe size, all that stuff. I handed him everything and he said, what's fellow from Missouri doing up here? I said, well, I married a young lady from down here. I said, and we're down here visiting family. And he said, well, he said, we have traffic laws here. As if maybe I thought Alabama didn't have traffic laws. I said, the fact of the matter is I didn't have my radar detector up, so I didn't know you were back there radaring. I said, I tell you what, I said, if you're willing to, I said, I'll drive back about a mile and we'll go double or nothing. And he laughed a little bit and he said, you can't be serious. And I said, well, of course not. I said, but I'm from Missouri, and, Missouri being a southern state, I just thought, a little bit of brethren stuff here. And he said, Missouri's not a southern state. I said, no, it actually was a southern state in the Civil War. It was the 13th battle star on the Confederate battle flag. And he said, get out of here. And I said, no, it really was. I said, have you ever heard of the Battle of Lexington? And he said, no. And I said, well, the Battle of Lexington was actually an innovation in military tactics. And so I explained to him how, in the Battle of Lexington, the Confederate troops poured water on hay bales. And then they rolled these big hay bales in front of them and used it as a moving revetment. And they routed the Union troops at the Battle of Lexington, one of the few victories for Confederate forces in Missouri. And he was fascinated by the history lesson. And I said, to this day, there is a cannonball lodged in the courthouse in Lexington, Missouri. And he said, I just can't believe that. I said, look, you can go online and you can validate that. I said, you can see the big black cannonball sitting there. So we talked for about another 5 minutes at the side of the road. And he said, okay, he said, you go on and get out of here. Just drive slower. I said, okay. And along I went. again, if you just treat people like people, usually you can get a little bit of a break. Now, I probably didn't deserve a break. I probably should have gotten a ticket. But the guy was a nice guy, and he let me go. A lot of times, state troopers in particular get kind of a bad reputation for being a Smokey Bear hat wearing jerk. But this guy was a nice fellow. And in fact, the guy I met recently when I was run off the road, he was a nice guy too. So I like to think that if I'm going to get in trouble, for speeding or something like that, that I'm going to try to treat somebody the way I would want to be treated if I was doing that job. That's what I've got for you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below or email me at the address above. If you have a video request, if you'd like me to do a video on a subject, put on the title of your email, video request. That will help me a great deal. I get a lot of emails every day. Thanks again for watching. And if you have the opportunity today, do something kind for somebody, and then come on back and catch me down here at the beach again next time. Have a great day. If you like this video, here are a few others you might try, and don't forget to subscribe. Have a terrific day, guys.